Okay. All right. But I want to read y'all something that he said. If I can get this link. Let me see if I can pull it up right here. But it's interesting. And I think it'll add to our understanding. And also use that same discriminatory eye, you know, to make sure we're pulling out the meat and not the bones. Well, maybe I shouldn't use meat anymore. But just to really look at all the information as a whole. Because as I get more information, I like to test it and go through. But it was really, really interesting. Hold on, let me see if I can open this up. I got to copy my own link. Hold up. Let me read you something real quick that he said about it. Then we're going to hop right in here to the... If this won't let me pull it up from here, I'll just paste. Maybe we'll read it later. It's giving me issues. But right at the beginning of it, hold on. Let me see. Let me try and pull it up right here. If I can't get it to come up, we'll just do it later. I'll have it prepared. Okay, here it is. Let me read it real quick. It's just the smaller intro to this. It's a statement of explanation, June 23rd, 2018. And that's the link that I just posted for y'all. And this, if you want to open it up, if you're able to with your device, it's on page 3. And it says, the full book of which this section is a small part of is not yet finished. That book is called Discovery, the True Path of OAHSPE. Currently, it is but the first version. It may be several years more before it is completely finished. For example, footnotes are not standardized, nor are the sources yet included. However, it is being made public, one section at a time. And even though some errors may still be found in this book of research, the motivation for doing this is to admonish right now all who mistakenly and blindly follow those who work to make OAHSPE into a religious cult. And some people are actually doing that and saying that about OAHSPE, and they're not rightfully discerning between the information and what is to be taken and applied to our lives now here in this era and what is not. You know, people... We have the habit of taking stuff and making them religious practices when they shouldn't. Just take what's good and keep on moving, right? Listen, the motivation for doing this is to admonish right now all who mistakenly and blindly follow those who work to make OAHSPE into a religious cult, thereby seeking to glorify themselves instead of really practicing what OAHSPE emphatically advises. In essence, OAHSPE was channeled for the new age for 3 main purposes. 1, to teach every person how to hear the Creator's voice directly without the need of a priest or seer. 2, to teach the importance of making sacrifices, of achieving good works, of service for the benefit of those in need or in darkness. And 3, to begin to work together to establish communities that are developing in oneness with the Creator and in harmony with the angelic heavens. And then I just want to read his statement of purpose, which he issued a few months later, January 31st, 2019. And he says, "Oh, by all means, I love OAHSPE. In addition, I fully intend to greatly expand part 1 in the book on why OAHSPE is wonderful. The main reason why this book is being written is as follows, including the sci-fi text, including the sci-fi text was an attack on OAHSPE by spirits who tricked Nubero into putting it in because of his longtime commitment to the Masons. Seers are vulnerable in that sense. In my mind, at least, I am not criticizing OAHSPE. I am defending it from sci-fi and the religious cult takeover zombies. Therefore, I am criticizing Safa, which was never part of the original channeling, but which has caused bondage, confusion, and suffering. I admire Nubero much more than it may seem. He became a great faithist, but stumbled after the channeling due to his many years of being influenced as a practicing Mason at the highest levels. Seers are vulnerable, and Nubero never stopped being a Mason. Masonic rites practiced at Shalom. Shalom was sold to Nubero by Masons. Nubero buried with Masonic rites, and finally in a Masonic gravesite. More than a few who have suffered in Safa cults now blame and hate the OAHSPE. So you see, that is what happens when cults use OAHSPE as a means of oppression. And we see the same thing happening with those, because they use the Christian Bible the same way. But we need to be aware of some of these things and be able to decipher stuff so we don't get caught up in that same thing that other people have. More than a few who have suffered in Safa cults now blame and hate OAHSPE. So you see, that is what happens when cults use OAHSPE as a means of oppression. Their victims can start hating OAHSPE because of what Safa provides support for. Master priests who have absolute authority, right? Which is what the whole OAHSPE is taking us out of, right? So we can go directly to Creator, back and forth. We don't need a middleman, right? But Safa trips people up with that. I'm not suggesting anyone has the power to stop cults from happening or to fix what is wrong in those who start them, but the innocent seekers deserve to know more about what to watch out for. No one dared to warn me. Yet I have seen 4 or 5 people drop OAHSPE as soon as they saw Safa. I am not saying that no one will ever read OAHSPE if Safa is in it. I am stating it has and will continue to drive people away, as well as create some very negative connections and spiritual dogma that makes it possible for some to transform OAHSPE into a priest-master religion. This has been happening for decades, and even now there are churches and videos promoting a distorted view of what OAHSPE is. So I don't think anyone can so easily dismiss the danger of keeping Safa in it. Most definitely, it is irrational to dismiss any criticism of Safa simply because some voices someone heard in their head said Safa was meant to be an OAHSPE. This book sets forth both conclusive proofs and arguments that demonstrate Safa is a dangerous sham that must be excluded from future editions of OAHSPE. Yet the Safa supporters do not want to consider the evidence or the arguments. They have not yet nor ever will challenge any points successfully in this book. They just ignore it all and hope the truth and the factual evidence will go away. However, in doing so, they prove they have nothing in their viewpoint to offer other than mindless acceptance of Safa, that is, encumbering symbols and dogma, all overseen by fake priest rulers, all done in a manner that is the very antithesis of OAHSPE. My view is, don't allow the charade of Safa to continue. After the channeling, Nubero was allowed to make his choices. He chose to bring in the Masonic influence. You and I, everyone, we get to make our own choices without exception, as you well know. The angels who work with Nubero let Nubero do what he thought best, but the Masonic spirits were having none of that. Let me read that again. The angels who worked with Nubero let Nubero do what he thought best, but the Masonic spirits were having none of that. The Masonic spirits trashed OAHSPE and poisoned the initial faithist communities, as well as almost all those started over the past century. A history of failure, obsession, crimes, and lunacy. And that's why I'll stop it right there. But last night I was reading over quite a bit more of this, and it was really, really interesting. The link that I posted, Global Purpose, Shalom, Shalom, Uncle JB, Grand Rising, Great Spirit, Love and Light. Yeah, so I think it's incumbent upon us to take this reference and add it. And it's not talking about all of OAHSPE, it's just talking about the certain things where he has gone through. Certain people who have been involved in certain religious factions are able to see things more clearly than other ones who haven't. Like us, coming from the Christian community, we can call out the crap that other people can't see. Like they're playing, y'all. Pay attention to this. That's what's happened. And like he said, he absolutely loves OAHSPE and how it teaches us to return to the Creator and do away with all the other gods, lords, and saviors and all of this stuff. But he did want to point out these things that he just couldn't let go. And he started going into it. I was like, I'm glad because I don't even know how it popped up, because I had been looking to that. I hadn't said anything about it, but I was like, well, I'm definitely still missing some information. I'm not done going through OAHSPE yet, but listening to some of the things, some of the points, some people were bringing up. I'll say some of the points, some of the more the people who research a little bit more than those who were just responding out of their feelings, they made some good points, which I couldn't personally ignore, because I'm like, well, what does it say there? Let me make sure I'm reading that in full context of what has actually happened, but it does get into some stuff. I'm like, holy crap. So we got to be mindful of it and make sure we don't get tripped up with those same things, because I saw it was a very fine line John Newborough was walking after the channeling and some of the other things that he brought up, because he wrote other books before and afterwards. And it kind of shows his attitude and what was happening in Shalom when he allowed the Masonic influence to kind of come in and overshadow everything. That's when everything just went to pot or went to hell. I'm like, yo, and he probably, and he, from what I was reading, he really thought he was doing what was right, but he had started that. Definitely the line of light was broken, and definitely another voice was coming in, and he didn't discern it quickly enough, because he was trying to implement all that he had learned from his experience and the wisdom and everything, but still trying to intertwine that with the Masonic rites and rituals and stuff, and it was clashing, and that's what caused everything to go haywire, so yes. Stephen, shalom. Yeah, so it's there right now, and it's going to be thicker than what it is. Right now, it's standing at about 415 pages. And I read a good bit of it. I probably read a very small percentage in comparison to the amount of pages it is, but I read a good bit of it last night from when I first came upon it, so, but there's a lot of other stuff, but I want to share that with y'all so we can talk about those things, right? And just make sure we don't run into them same pitfalls. I'm sure as we grow, opportunity will provide itself for us also to get the line of light from the Creator broken with us and to get us off. And that is what we do not want, right? We want to make sure we're aware of everything that's happening. Just like in Christianity, that same type of, wait a minute, hold on, we got to do the same thing. So I just, I wanted to let y'all know that. I could not keep that to myself. So, all right, y'all. So let's go ahead. That was, like I said, that's the link that I posted. Mom Shalom. If you go up towards the top, when we first came in, the title of it is OAHSPE, Discovering the True Spiritual Path of OAHSPE, parts 1 to 4, and it's the first draft. And I just read you the, on page 3, the 2 paragraphs, like the introduction and that little blurb that I had just finished reading. It starts on 3 and it ends at the top of page 4. And that's the link for it right there. And I posted it. Let me repost it again, because I know Facebook went out because my sound was going to go out. Sorry, y'all. Hold on. I'm going to repost it on this one, too. Okay, that's the title. Here is the link. I was trying to do some of everything to get this to print out, but you can't. You can print it, but it doesn't look like, it's not going to be like a full page. It's going to print like that whole page with the screen inside of it. And it's going to be too much. It's going to be like 1,000 pages. So, but yeah, that's there. It has a download button. He hasn't made the download button available yet. Because like he said, it's in the first draft. It's not finished. There's still some, you know, a few mistakes, and all the references haven't been listed, nor the footnotes been fully, you know. So all of that stuff he's working to pull together. But I think it's a really good resource. We should check into it. Not just all the good stuff. Yes, I will. Matter of fact, let me just post it now on a community page. Channel. Facebook real quick. I'm posting it right now. Yeah, don't drink the Kool-Aid. Don't drink anybody Kool-Aid. I want to end up like Jim Jones. That ain't what we're here for. We will defeat our own purpose of returning to the Creator if we don't address some of these things, right? Not just the truth of everything, but I think it'll help all of those that are, at least those who are really searching for truth, that are really like, I don't know, y'all, and they just can't get past some of this stuff. I think it's incumbent upon us that we actually address these things with our highest light and our understanding. So get all the references and, you know, that's definitely, because next time we read through with all of what I read last night, I would not read the book of Safai anymore in here, right? Because I had, like I said, I had already had questions about some things that I had already been learning about the Masonic rites and stuff. And I'm like, okay, maybe let me just finish reading, you know. But when that popped up last night, and I wasn't even looking for that in particular. I was looking for something else that I was researching in OAHSPE, and that popped up, and I thought it was what I was looking for, but it caught my eye, and I'm like, wait a minute, let me do this. I'm like, oh wait, this is answering my other question that I was having about Safai, and that's when I started reading it. So, Shibu, hey guy, hey. All right, so I posted it on the community page, Audrey, so it's there. All right, y'all, so let's go ahead and get started. We are 28 minutes. Oh, my G. Okay. All right, so we are chapter 17, page 727. Hosea, shalom, shalom. Page 727. If you're reading not the version in Big Blue, it's chapter XVII in Book of Jehovah's Kingdom on Earth. Page 727 in Big Blue. All right. So let's pick this back up with the proper rearing of children, right? This is just blew my mind. I was going back over it. So now, yesterday we was talking about from birth up until like 6 years of age, and it just blew my mind how proficient and well trained in a lot of things that they were at 6 years of age. These 6-year-olds will put us to shame, every single last one of us, right? So now it's getting to the 14th year, and we understand and know that at age 14 in Shalom, right, when Shalom, the real Shalom begins to happen, and the earth is like full of it. I think now we're still in the process of developing bits and pieces before the actual Shalom, or the kingdom, the Father's kingdom on earth actually happens. We're developing different portions of that, right? Even in our own households, learning how to do these things. So that's what this was getting into yesterday, but it picks back up today, chapter 17, with the 14-year-olds. Okay. The voice came to Tay, saying, the 14th year is my year, meaning the 14th year of the child's life belongs to the Creator, right? The voice came to Tay, saying, the 14th year is my year. Behold, the harvest of my laborers who came first out of Uz is ripe unto deliverance. In the heavens of my gods I bequeath a time to labor unto them also. And when their angel hosts are prepared for a new resurrection to a higher heaven, I come and deliver them. For 14 years Thou and thine host have labored with my infants. Those which I gave into your keeping have prospered, and shall now be emancipated, and ye also shall be emancipated from all further responsibility over them, save such as ye take upon yourselves. Call them together, old and young, and with suitable rites and ceremonies, fulfill my commandments unto them, and bequeath unto my children the titles, brides and bridegrooms of liberty. So Tay appointed a day of emancipation and had it proclaimed before all the people of the colony. And on the day named, there came into the temple of Jehovah 1,000 of the infants who had attained to 14 years of age. And they were clothed in white with uncovered heads, boys and girls, each carrying a sprig of acacia. And they marched in from the west, 2 and 2, but separated one to either side, forming a crescent with the horns to the east. The 52 founders sat in the east and were thus betwixt the horns of the crescent, and they were clothed in black with white aprons, but with Zarathustrian hats on the men's and with sky crescents on the women's heads. Okay, and after Zarathustrian hats is reference letter E. So let's hop over to the end of the chapter, to page 736 if you have Big Blue. And letter reference E says, a Zarathustrian hat is a cardinal's hat, and originally, as seen in the history of Zarathustra, is red like blood. It is without a rim and is emblematical of the destruction of Thetis in a lion's den. It is also used in the rites of Emethakaba. See Book of Safa, 1882 edition. We won't go there. All right, so let's go back up. Verse 8, 727. Back of the founders were stationed another 1,000 children of younger years, and they bore the flower wreaths instead for the brides and bridegrooms of liberty. But within the midst of the crescent stood S, facing the east. Still outside of the crescent were stationed the next younger class of 1,000 infants, and beyond these were the members of Shalom, and beyond them were the visiting Uzians. On the north and south were stationed the musicians, and betwixt them the crescent horns on the exterior were the marshals of Shalom. Tay represented the voice of Jehovah, and S the voice of the young brides and bridegrooms who were to speak in concert with her. After prayer and suitable music, Tay said, in the name of Jehovah, and by his light upon me, I declare the place of the holy covenant open to the voice of mortals. Who here knoweth the times of Jehovah, and the day and year, and the place of his kingdom? S and the brides and bridegrooms of liberty, in Jehovah's name, greeting from the west. Behold, this is the brides and bridegrooms' day of liberty. We stand before thee and thy host to answer our love for the benefits ye have bestowed upon us in the Father's kingdom. We bring ye sprigs of acacia as memorials of everlasting life ye have shown unto us. Tay said, the east answereth in love and sorrow, but receiveth your memorials with great joy. S, before the Almighty, all things move onward, to his decrees we bow in reverence. Tay, are ye not satisfied? S, we are more than satisfied with the love and blessings we have received. We were fatherless and motherless, and ye gathered us up and fed us and clothed us. But greater than all, ye have taught us to love and honor you in our Father's name. Tay, we went forth in duty, but Jehovah hath answered us with love. We found you helpless, with none to care for you, or to save you from destruction. We brought you hither and provided unto you without price and without hope of reward. S, but ye have bound us, how can we ever repay? None can know the fullness of our gratitude. Tay, we have watched you since before ye stood upright. Your every little step hath been both a responsibility and a joy unto us. Oh, why will you leave us? Who knoweth the love of the age for the young? whom they have watched from day to day. S. We will not leave you, but behold, we are no longer babes. We are strong and learned. As ye saved us, let us go forth in our might to save others. Who can teach the aged that those they raised are not always babes? Oh, give us our liberty. Behold, we are clothed as brides and bridegrooms. Tay. And turn you loose without anyone over you to guard and bless you? S. Jehovah will guard and bless the righteous who serve him. We are his. Amen. Tay. Who is Jehovah and where? S. He is the life and the knowledge, who is everywhere present, the all-person, who created us alive, who, by giving, created all things. He is our shield. Tay. Your faith being in Jehovah, it is well, but ye have bound us with your love. What is bound on earth shall remain bound in heaven. Though we give you the form of liberty, yet our hearts will ever go out in love to you. Though we emancipate you here on earth, remember, we are growing old. Ere long we shall join our fathers in heaven. Whither we go, we shall again prepare unto you. And when ye come again to us for a season, behold, we shall again go on for a time and a season. S. O Jehovah, preserve thou us ever pure and wise, that thy host may continue this love in our travel in thy everlasting kingdoms. Tay. Such is ever the beginning of a kingdom of the Father, where a few gather together in his name, fulfilling the commandments, there is the starting place unto them. Pity those that live and die in this world, not having found and lived within a kingdom of the Father. S. To remain true to Jehovah's heaven, what a glory, time without end. Make us strong and wise, O Father, to bring them into thy kingdom on earth. Help us to make them comprehend. Tay, in the voice. With liberty I also give responsibility. S, in the voice. Thy chosen comprehend. As thou givest them liberty, even so do they emancipate those who save them. Tay. To the helpless I provide saviors. To the wise and strong I say, save yourselves. S. We want none of thee. We want none but thee, Jehovah, to save us. We bind ourselves unto thee from this time forth forever. Tay. Whosoever striveth to save himself shall not fail before me. We covenant unto thee, Jehovah, to strive hereafter forever, to save ourselves from all sin and unrighteousness in thoughts, words, and deeds, and to serve thee with all our wisdom and strength by doing good unto others as long as we may live. Tay, of himself. Then, in Jehovah's name and by his authority vested in me, I bequeath you liberty forever. Jehovah be with you all. Amen. In Jehovah's name, we release our saviors from all responsibility for us forevermore. Jehovah be with you all. Amen. Tay, draw unto me and receive from my hand, saith Jehovah. Whoso covenanteth unto me, I covenant unto him. Whoso registereth unto me shall be registered in my heavenly kingdoms. Upon the entrance in heaven of my chosen, behold, my holy angels are there to receive them. The brides and bridegrooms, we covenant unto thee, Jehovah, to be thine forever. Register us in thy everlasting kingdoms to make us acceptable associates for thy holy ones in heaven. Teach thou us, O Jehovah, to look down into our thoughts, words, and behavior every day and hour with swift remembrance to do all the good we can unto others, that we may be in honor and glory in thy works. Tay, come unto me, my beloved, receive from my altar the token of liberty in my name. The marshals then brought the points of the crescent together in front of Tay, leaving a space between them. The guards then brought the children with wreaths forward, filed to pass betwixt Tay and S, who had advanced to the apex of the horns. The saviors, and after saviors in parentheses it says the founders. The founders drew up in single file facing the west. And now, at a single form, the chief marshal, the brides and bridegrooms, turned in at the crescent, 2 and 2, and as they did so, they gave the acacia to the founders, whilst the wreaths were placed on their heads by Tay and S, the bearers passing the other way. And as they did so, Tay said, "Receive thou this token of liberty in the name of the Almighty. It was grown by him, gathered by his loves, and is bestowed by thy benefactor as a crown of Jehovah's kingdom on earth." S, in response, "More precious is this than the crown of any king or queen on earth. In Jehovah's praise, I receive it. It is an emblem of a new beginning in my life, a wreath of liberty." The Savior's founders said, "This acacia shall be my register before the Almighty of your love." After this, the musicians sang and chanted whilst the audience resumed seats. Tay said, "A new life is before you. Heretofore, you have been directed and criticized and told what to do and what not to do. Hereafter, ye shall not be thus disciplined, but shall discipline yourselves." And that's the era we're in, to discipline ourselves, to save ourselves, right? Verse 55, "As much as ye are thus bestowed by us, so shall ye bestow one another. And henceforth ye shall not criticize or direct or dictate to one another. As much as ye are free from us, ye are free from one another. Heretofore ye reproved one another for various trifling faults." I said trifling. "Heretofore ye reprove one another for various trifling faults. Hereafter ye shall not reprove one another, nor reprove any person above 14 years of age. Remember constantly that ye are not keepers or supervisors over your equals or your elders. And for such faults or shortness ye may perceive in others, save infants, turn away. Behold them not, nor mention them. Such matters are betwixt Jehovah and the doers," right? Don't nobody need you pointing out their faults, because they know, right? Matter of fact, y'all mentioned it yesterday. Those who do that, that means you are, what's the word they use? It's in here in OAHSPE. But for you to be pointing out the evils of other people lets us know that you are not completely sound in your own spirit. You are operating out of, they ain't say wickedness, but it was close to it, right? And you definitely shouldn't be found there. Don't point out anybody's faults. You know, you can call out all the good stuff they do and all the things that they accomplish, but leave the faults between them and their creator, right? He'll take care of it. Let me go back to 56. Trina, hey girl, hey. "Heretofore ye reprove one another for various trifling faults. Hereafter ye shall not reprove one another, nor reprove any person above 14 years of age. Remember constantly that ye are not keepers or supervisors over your equals or your elders. And for such faults or shortness ye may perceive in others, save infants, or except for infants, turn away, behold them not, nor mention them. Such matters are betwixt Jehovah and the doers. And now, behold, it is proper for you to go into Uz and see them and observe how they live, both in splendor and in misery. For which purpose ye shall be provided in groups of dozens or more, and accompanied to the cities of Uz to sojourn there for a season. And if it so happen that ye desire to remain in Uz, then be it so, ye shall remain. And if ye desire to return hither, then ye shall return. But ye shall not return here as before, as helpless babes, but as workers. And if ye elect to remain with us, then shall ye make the covenant of brotherhood with us, being one with us in all things, and this place or its sister colonies shall be your home as long as ye may desire. Next chapter, chapter 18, or chapter XVIII, page 729 in bit blue. When the groups were prepared to visit Uz, Tay himself took charge of 12 going with them. As the incidents of these visiting groups were similar, the following account of Tay's group sufficeth here to wit. Tay took them to the city of Meg. It got an I in it. Meg, M-E-I-G. I'm going to just say Meg. Tay took them to the city of Meg, to the most fashionable hotels, and had them provided with every luxury so-called. Hardly had he them located when they came before him, saying, "Our rooms are small. The air of the city smells foul. Tell us, what is the meaning so many people strolling about in idleness? Why do they sit reading papers? Which are the masters and which are the servants? How do they know? Why do the servants not be masters and have the others serve them? What beautiful wagons, what beautiful mirrors. What do the women have their clothes stuffed for?" That's funny. What do women have their clothes stuffed for? What are those bells ringing for? Are they in the temples of Jehovah? Take us thither. What causeth these disagreeable smells? See that old woman with a half-naked babe and leading that dirty child? Why holdeth she out her hand as we pass? Is she a servant or a master? Why hath not someone told the rich, it is wrong to pass that poor woman by without helping her to a home? Why does she not come into our hotel and have a room? What do the people mean about rights and privileges? Can one person in Ooze have more rights and privileges than another? And why so? What is that sour smell down yonder in that cellar where they talk so loud? What is sour beer? See, behold, a man with a bloody face fighting with what? A tiger? You can tell all these 14-year-old babes, they've been sheltered in Shalom, right? Now you're getting a taste of the real world. Look, let me keep reading. Verse 5, I'll start over. What is that sour smell down yonder in that cellar where they talk so loud? What is sour beer? See, behold, a man with a bloody face fighting. What with? A tiger? Are those flesh eaters? Are those the flesh eaters? Why do they smoke? Why hath not someone told them they should rather seek to purify themselves than to do in the opposite way? Oh, here's the temple of worship. Take us in. I can only imagine what they about to find in there. Tay took them in, and they heard the sermon, and afterward they said, "Oh, the mystery of mysteries! How can these things be? The chief preached most excellently. He knoweth all the doctrines for right doing, but why is it that his people heed him not?" Ooh. These 14-year-olds, remember? Why doth he not gather up little children and raise them up to observe the commandments? He must be the best of men. Take us to see him. Tay took them, but a servant met them at the gate and demanded to know their business. The pastor's armor bearer show up. What you want with the pastor? They answered, "We have come to consult about the poor." Then the gatekeeper withdrew a while, but returned, saying, "The preacher is not at home." That might be our title, in our title today. The preacher is not at home. They answered, "We have come to consult about the poor." Then the gatekeeper withdrew a while, but returned, saying, "The preacher is not at home." From an upper window behind the lattices, they saw his face, not at home. They said, "Can these things be? Oh, take us to the poor, to the streets of misery. Let us see them." The pastor's acting like the people that act when Jehovah's Witnesses come to your door. Pastor not at home. They say they seen him upstairs looking out the window from behind the lattices. What they want? Tell them I ain't here. They're probably trying to come get their money back from service this morning. Hold on. I'll go back to verse 9. Hold on. Let me just go back. Let me just go back to 6. Tay took them in, and they heard the sermon, and afterward they said, "Oh, the mystery of mysteries! How can these things be? The chief preached most excellently. He knoweth all the doctrines for right doing. But why is it that his people heed him not? Why doth he not gather up little children and raise them up to observe the commandments? He must be the best of men. Take us to see him. Tay took them, but a servant met them at the gate and demanded to know their business. They answered, we have come to consult about the poor. Then the gatekeeper withdrew a while, but returned, saying, the preacher is not at home. From an upper window behind the lattices, they saw his face, not at home. They said, can these things be? Oh, take us to the poor, to the streets of misery. Let us see them. Tay took them, and when they looked about, they asked, why do the poor live in the dirty streets? Why do they not go away and dwell in the beautiful places? Who gave these different allotments to the rich and poor? Why do the poor not clean themselves and clean their clothes and clean their houses? Why do the poor remain in the cities and huddle together in such little rooms? What is that large house? A theological college? What is that for? What is the meaning of teaching religion? Can it be learned with words? What is the reason they do not live religion? Why hath not someone explained to the professors that religion is a thing of practice? Could they not understand? Why do they not love their neighbors as themselves, dividing up what they have with the poor? Why do these children go without shoes and so ragged and dirty? Remember these 14-year-old babies now. I'm sorry, they've just been emancipated. We should treat them like adults. And by golly, just listen to the questions they asking. Look, Tabitha, I like that. Lies hide when truth shows up. I'll be like, where that same energy at? Where's that same energy at when you were standing up there in the pulpit, lying to the people? I need you to come with that same energy, G. I'm gonna go upstairs, hide behind the lattice, and look out the window. Listen, hold up. Let me read verse 13 again. Angela Blessings, verse 13, one page, 729, chapter 18, or chapter XVIII. Verse 13. What is that large house? A theological college? What is that for? What is the meaning of teaching religion? Can it be learned with words? What is the reason they do not live religion? Why hath not someone explained to the professors that religion is a thing of practice? Could they not understand? Why do they not love their neighbors as themselves, dividing up what they have with the poor? Why do these children go without shoes and so ragged and dirty? Why do not the professors and students in the theological college go and wash them and clothe them? Thus Tay took them amongst the fashion and splendor, and amongst the poverty and shame of Uz, showing them the banks and great merchant houses, and the fleets of ships, and then to the prisons and poorhouses, and to the houses for the insane, and to the hospitals. Now since their infancy up, many of them possessed Suez, and could see the spirits of the dead, even as they saw mortals. And they inquired of Tay concerning such spirits, saying and inquiring, who are these restless, sullen spirits strolling about the banking houses? Tay answered them, these were bankers. These were the founders of great banking houses. As they bound their minds and thoughts to earthly gain whilst they were mortal, so drift they now, even as they bound themselves on earth. They cannot go hence. Again they asked, tell us then, what spirits are these strolling sulkily in merchant houses and on the docks? Tay said, these were great merchants and their shipmasters. Behold, they float also into places they bound themselves. Tell us then, who are these drunken, foul-smelling spirits in the saloons? Tay said, these were tipplers, drunkards, gormandizers. These were their mortal resorts. They cannot go hence. Thus Tay explained the tens of thousands of spirits that huddled around about the different places in the cities of Meg and the land of Uz. Now, after the time of the visit was completed, Tay said unto them, What will you remain in Uz, or return to Shalom? And they answered, Oh, take us back. Give us clear air to breathe. Let us be where we can hear and see Jehovah. But since thou and thy people gather us up in ooze and bore us hence, let us go and gather up infants also and take them with us. We will raise them up in the light of our Father in heaven. So in fact, they did, and they returned to Shalom, taking with them a great number of waifs and castaways and orphan babes. Wow. Next chapter, chapter 19, which is chapter XIX. Okay, what time we at? 56 minutes, oh my gosh. And it's Monday. We ain't gonna finish this today. I really want to. We'll see, I'm gonna just keep reading. Okay. When the multitude returned to Shalom, the place was more than filled, and the voice came to Tay, saying, Thou hast now fulfilled the first part of my kingdom on earth, but behold, it is yet but a small branch of that which will overspread this great land. Moreover, the lessons of Uz be a prophet unto thee and thy people. Because the Uzians build large cities, their would-be reformers are powerless to work righteousness amongst the people. Let not the cities of my chosen be large, nor more numerous than Shalom is already. Sufficient is such a size to all that is required for the fulfillment of mortal life. Therefore, thou shalt proclaim it unto my chosen, that no city shall contain more than 3,000 people. Suffice it then, as I have placed the example of bees before thee, showing how they swarm and go hence and establish a new hive according to their numbers, even so shall my people go hence and establish a new place after the manner of Shalom. This also shalt thou proclaim unto them. And thou shalt ask for volunteers in my name to accomplish these things righteously as an example to coming generations. So Tay called the people together and proclaimed Jehovah's words, adding also, Whoso volunteered to go hence shall not find the fullness of Shalom, but instead shall find discomforts and hard work. Beware of disappointments and trials and hardships, for is it not the way with all men to desire to reap too quickly the harvest and to consider its fullness, rather than to contemplate the laboring of tilling the ground and of the sowing? And this is something that I saw happening as I was looking into a little bit more about the community of Shalom that John Newborough tried to found, right? So I was like, oh, shoot. We definitely need to be aware of these things, right? Things have to develop. Listen, verse 10, Whoso volunteereth to go hence shall not find the fullness of Shalom, but instead shall find discomforts and hard work. Beware of disappointments and trials and hardships, for is it not the way with all men to desire to reap too quickly the harvest and to consider its fullness, rather than to contemplate the labor of tilling the ground and of sowing? For the spirit of man conceiveth the result of perfection, but the judgment looketh to the labor required to bring it out. For the spirit of man conceiveth the result of perfection, but the judgment looketh to the labor required to bring it out. Oh, that was so good. I had to read that again. Let me read it one more time. Listen to what they said. For the spirit of man conceiveth the result of perfection, but the judgment looketh to the labor required to bring it out. Yeah, we know we got perfection. That's the end goal. Now let's work our way back up and see the steps we need to take for that to even come to fruition, right? I'm reading one more time. We're going to keep going. The spirit of man conceiveth the result of perfection, but the judgment looketh to the labor required to bring it about. Who then, having the joys and fullness of Shalom, will turn away from them in order to build another place, and yet the while not repine for his choice? A colony shall stand as an individual before Jehovah. A colony may thwart its own righteousness by living for itself only. This is definitely some of the pitfalls they fell into. As I was reading, I'm like, yo, this is, where's my highlighter? Hold on. And that's easy for me to see because when I was growing up, right, so there was this thing we was a part of. It was called the School of the Prophets. Things start out good. It's kind of like Shalom, but it was, it was a school that was developing spiritual gifts and all this stuff. And it's from what I remember when I was younger, and I was this was before we moved to Illinois. I was because we moved, I was 15. So probably like age 8 to 12 or something like that, if that. But I remember it started out good, and everybody there that came from I'm not going to name names, I just named the School of the Prophets because it's kind of a general name, which is a name they went by. The School of the Prophets, it started good, but something happened over the period of time where the prophecies from the Creator, or prophecies, the things that they would hear, you can tell it was getting off. And even me as a child could understand that something was wrong. Remember, they had all the children seated in the back on like the little couch while the adults was up here listening to the teacher teach and everything. It was good, right? It was good. I even remember a couple times while I was hungry. I mentioned one on before where I was complaining to my mama, I'm hungry. She's like, all right, we're going to leave it in a while. But the word that was coming forth in the teaching was so filling that it filled my belly on a natural level. Like I felt full, and I thought it was just me. But even when we had gotten to the car, my mom and my grandma had began to talk about it. I'm like, they felt it too. I was like, I'm not starving anymore. Right. So supernatural things like that happened. But I began to notice, like I said, as a child, before even turning 10 years old, began to notice when the atmosphere there changed. And there was, from what I understand now, there's like pride that creeps in, right? When some people, when they tend to be used by God a lot, they tend to get the big head, like they're better than everybody else. And I saw that was like that fine line they were walking, and things started happening. And then another spirit began to speak in that place. And it's the craziest thing. And as I was looking over some of the stuff from John Newborough, it looks like that same thing has happened, because he started getting this whole puffed up attitude and controlling things. Y'all, when y'all get into it, y'all see. Let's see. Is Shalom what they consider orphanage down here? Nuh-uh. Shalom is it would literally be like, in my own words, Shalom would be a community of people who's truly living and walking in the ways of the Creator, like they're rearing the children accordingly and teaching them, and so they're growing up being productive. It's taken a while to get there, right? It's like the city of peace or whatever, but not an orphanage. They would bring in orphans, right, from the cities of darkness or whatever, out in the world, wherever you want to get them from, to raise them up in the light and the ways of the Creator so that they can be productive, helping to reproduce righteousness on earth. Yeah. Oh, Jamil, right. Oh, it's such an amazing thing. Like, you have to experience it to know what I'm talking about. Some people are like, yeah, okay, it's like the full feeling evil. No, it's like on a whole totally different level. So I'm as I'm reading this, and I came across that wasn't, when I was reading that stuff, that didn't seem far-fetched to me, because I had kind of grew up in something like that, right? We've just been fortunate enough. I ain't gonna say fortunate. I'm grateful to the Creator that my parents, they were not the parents that like follow behind man and just like, oh, whatever the pastor say. No, they actually had their own relationship with the Father, to where when things get off, you know what? It's time for us to go. And they gracefully bowed out and removed us. I'm grateful for that, for my mom being able to hear the voice of the Father. And I just kind of seen things growing up where we would be removed from situations before it blows up. Even as I grew up and started my family, I began to notice some of the same things with some of the ministries we had been a part of. I began to notice let's just call it the break in the line of light. And then I start questioning things like, well, maybe I'm tripping. because, Father, is this me? Am I being rebellious? You know, because they teach you women don't be rebellious, listen to your husband and stuff. But then I talked to my mom about it one time. She said, well, Pam, maybe you need to fast. And it just so happened, it's set up where my husband's sister was having some issues back thrown out, and she has a special needs child. And she called my husband and asked if he could come and help for like a few days because she had threw her back out trying to lift him. And so my mom said, well, Pam, maybe you should fast. And I did. As soon as I got my husband off to the airport, my fast began. He was gone for almost a week. And when he came back, because we was in a situation where I could tell, now I would say the line of light from the Creator had been broken. And I didn't want to seem like this rebellious woman and stuff because, you know, just some other stuff that was happening. I'm like, Father, okay, if this is you, because I know, sometimes I know what I know, and I can sense and I can feel stuff, and I ain't trying to have my family be caught up in no crap. And at this time, we only had 2 kids. It was just Jeremiah and Elijah. Well, Elijah and Jeremiah, Elijah being the oldest. And so we had came back. We went to service that next, like he came back Saturday. I picked him up airport Saturday night, and we went to church the very next morning. And he sat in service uncomfortable the entire time. And I'm just watching, I'm like, yeah, get him, Daddy. Right? Because, you know, I know when my husband gets like restless and stuff, but it just, that particular service, he just couldn't, he just couldn't anything. No sooner than we got in the vehicle after service was over, we pulled out the parking lot and come down the street, and right at the street, there's this light. And he said, babe, I think it's time for us to move churches. And on the inside, I was like jumping up and down, screaming. I'm like, yes, yes. And then I kept my composure as much as I could. I'm like, okay. I said, well, we can start looking. I was like, well, why do you feel that? Mind you, I had already mentioned a couple times. I'm like, and I wasn't saying, babe, I think we need to go. And I just kind of asked some strategic questions. Have you noticed, babe, there's like a change in the atmosphere? You know, just trying to feel and see where he is spiritually. Are you noticing the same things I'm noticing? You know, I think it was harder for him at the time because, hold on, let me see something. Y'all so fit, shalom. Listen, it was really hard for my husband because at that point, he was the pastor's armor bearer. You know, so it was a struggle, and he didn't want to make it seem like, yo, we just out of here. He was really, he had been seeing it, but I don't think he had the strength at the moment to, you know, just because of his faithfulness to his position. And when he was there, he was there. You know, he's just always about his business, whatever it is. And so, but I think the fast put it over the top. That's at least from my experience. After I did that, I was like, because something is going wrong. I can't quite put my finger on it. I said, but something is happening that shouldn't be happening. And so we separated. You know, we set up a meeting, let the pastor know that we were going to be stepping away. You know, nothing that did, but we just feel like at the time we were still calling the Creator God. We just feel like God is telling us that he's moving us to another place, right? And the meeting was sane and everything, but we kind of heard some stuff down the road that I'm like, wow. But suffice it to say, we were moved. We left that particular place in 2006. And we found out 2 years later that the church had completely dissolved. It was like no more. It was like completely no more. And some of the things that had happened, and we were really saddened by it because we really loved the people, had built relationships and stuff. Some people had completely started treating us like we had leprosy, wouldn't talk to us, and other people don't talk to them. But we had one friend who was really a true friend, It's like, I don't know what's going on or whatever, but it ain't got nothing to do with me. We hanging out this weekend or what? I'm like, let's go, sis. You know, so me, you know, we had a good relationship, you know, with that couple or whatever. But if you stay in tune with the Creator and you don't put all your focus on a man and following behind them, and you really doing your best to hear from the Father, he will keep you safe. Even if you're completely ignorant to what's going on behind the scenes, if people are planning your demise or whatever, even if you don't know the details, the Father protects his very own. And I'm living proof of that multiple times over, from growing up, from child all the way to adulthood with my family. I'm a true believer in that. If our hearts are pure and we're looking to do what's right, the Father helps us, right? By any means necessary. This amazing wonder, shalom, shalom. Hold on. Bennett said, what I'm trying to say is maybe they read of OAHSPE and this is their fake way of imitating it. Possibly. Tabitha said, at this very moment, Selah, Cosman, Pam, and the rest of us is the starting of a community. It would seem to be that way, right? And all of us are in different places all over the world, right? We're doing our part where we're at with our own families, right? And even us coming together, this is like a whole community. Like, we're getting it and we're understanding things and we're applying it where we are today, all over the world, you know? So that's an amazing thing. But with us being at the beginning of the Cosmon era, we probably won't see Shalom come to fruition during our lifetime. That's going to be generations down the road, because we're just getting at the point where we're realizing we need to discern and judge for ourselves now, and not let a man and savior do it. We're past that age. Like, you've been emancipated from mom and dad's house. You out there. What you gonna do? Right? Come on, think, Leroy, think. That's the stage we at right now. We're trying to decipher between all this stuff. Okay, let me finish this chapter, y'all. What was I at? But I'll go back to verse 12. Yes, Pooh? Yes, Sue, you can end it. Chapter 19, verse 12. We're on page 730 if you got Big Blue. All right. No, let me go to verse 11. Nope. 10. Whoso volunteereth to go hence shall not find the fullness of shalom, but instead shall find discomforts and hard work. Beware of disappointments and trials and hardships, for it is not the way with all men to desire to reap too quickly the harvest and to consider its fullness, rather than to contemplate the labor of tilling the ground and of sowing. For the spirit of man conceiveth the result of perfection, but the judgment looketh to the labor required to bring it about. Who then, having the joys and fullness of shalom, will turn away from them in order to build another place, and yet the while not repine for his choice? A colony shall stand as an individual before Jehovah. A colony may thwart its own righteousness by living for itself only. The whole world is to be redeemed. It is not sufficient for shalom to say, behold, I am the fullness of the Father's kingdom. Let others go and do as I have done. The selfishness of a colony shall be, therefore, guarded against, even as the selfishness of an individual. Discipline, as regardeth the means and power of a colony, shall manifest in directing to... Let me start over. Verse 17. Discipline, as regardeth the means and power of a colony, shall manifest in directing to the given purpose of founding the Father's kingdom. Shalom might appropriate her excess of production by sending into Uz and giving to the poor. Jehovah forbid that this should be done. The business of Shalom is not to distribute charity where it would thwart its own purpose. Because remember, we learned sometimes giving charity to people, you actually enable them to continue doing the things wrong that have gotten them in poverty where they need handouts or hand-ups, right? That is not our purpose. Like, we are past the stage of charity at this point. We should now be teaching men how to fish, not constantly handing them fish to feed their non-working, lazy hind parts. Verse 18, Shalom might appropriate her excess of production by sending into Uz and giving to the poor. Jehovah forbid that this should be done. The business of Shalom is not to distribute charity where it would thwart its own purpose. Shalom shall use her excess of means to extending the Father's kingdom and building new colonies. Jehovah is with us, and we shall draw Uz unto us to make them know Jehovah. To feed Uz in his debauchery is to send him in the way of destruction. Wow. Like we just said, at this point, if you keep giving him more fish, you're going to help him to the grave a whole lot faster. We are past this point. Verse 22. Guard ye therefore the appropriations of Shalom to such as labor for Jehovah's kingdom. As we have drawn a few away from Uz, let us prepare to draw more. The way is open for any to go hence to found a new colony. Neither shall it be a branch of Shalom, nor a dependent, but it shall be an independent sister colony. Neither shall it copy after Shalom, saying, Shalom shall be our example. This will be following an earthly light. Neither shall its people copy after Tay, saying, Tay did so and so, let us also. For this would be following a lower light. But it shall follow the light of Jehovah as it cometh unto you who found it. Save Jehovah found it, they shall fail who attempt it. And seeing that, well, y'all read it. I'll just read this again. Say Jehovah found it, they shall fail who attempt it. Jehovah designed not that man should build his house exactly like his neighbors. The misfortune of man is to copy after others instead of following Jehovah's light as it cometh to himself. Let not this misfortune come unto Shalom's sister colony. Another locality will call for other things. Be mindful of these and adapt yourselves accordingly. All right. So although there will be multiple colonies like Shalom, but none of them will be exactly the same. Right. What is required for this particular colony is required for this particular colony because of the individuals who are here, the gifts and talents of those people here. Just like the dynamics of my household are different from the dynamics of my sister's household. We both follow the Creator, but I have a house full of men, two women, or one woman and one little girl, right? She has a house full of women, one man, a husband, but full of women, right? And although we walk in the light of the Creator, the dynamics of this colony, the Murphy colony, is different from the colony of James over here, right? So what's required for this is not required for that. There's some of the same basic things, but it's dependent upon this particular colony here and all those who live here, right? Let me just read this again. All of this was good. I should read all of this over. Just one more time. Let's just start at 12. For the spirit of man conceiveth the result of perfection, but the judgment looketh to the labor required to bring it out. Who then, having the joys and fullness of Shalom, will turn away from them in order to build another place, and yet the while not repine for his choice? A colony shall stand as an individual before Jehovah. A colony may thwart its own righteousness by living for itself only. The whole world is to be redeemed. It is not sufficient for Shalom to say, Behold, I am the fullness of the Father's kingdom. Let others go and do as I have done. And I'm just now realizing that what I read last night, I had no idea we would be reading this today, bringing this out. Verse 16, the selfishness of a colony shall be, therefore, guarded against, even as the selfishness of an individual. Discipline as regarded the means and power of a colony. The selfishness of a colony shall be, therefore, guarded against, even as the selfishness of an individual. Discipline as regarded the means and power of a colony shall manifest in directing to the giving purpose of founding the Father's kingdom. Shalom might appropriate her excess of production by sending into Uz and giving to the poor. Jehovah forbid that this should be done. The business of shalom is not to distribute charity where it would thwart its own purpose. Shalom shall use her excess of means to extending the Father's kingdom and building new colonies. Jehovah is with us, and we shall draw ooze unto us to make them know Jehovah. Like, we don't go after them trying to catch them. They'll be drawn unto us, right? Jehovah is with us. We shall draw ooze unto us to make them know Jehovah. To feed ooze in his debauchery is to send him in the way of destruction. Guard ye therefore the appropriations of shalom to such as labor for Jehovah's kingdom. As we have drawn a few away from ooze, let us prepare to draw more. The way is open for any to go hence to found a new colony. Neither shall it be a branch of shalom, nor a dependent, but it shall be an independent sister colony. Neither shall it copy after shalom, saying, Shalom shall be our example. This would be following an earthly light. Neither shall its people copy after Tay, saying, Tay did so, let us also. For this would be following a lower light. But it shall follow the light of Jehovah as it cometh unto you who found it. Save Jehovah found it, they shall fail who attempt it. Jehovah designed not that man should build his house exactly like his neighbors. The misfortune of a man is to copy after others instead of following Jehovah's light as it cometh to himself. Let not this misfortune come unto Shalom's sister colony. Another locality will call for other things. Be mindful of these and adapt yourselves accordingly. And this is exactly what John Newborough did. They tried to follow this word for word instead of allowing the Father to download and to reveal to him how this should look in their day, right? In their day to do this. So, who we at? 121. How many more chapters? Let me see. It's Monday. Y'all off today? I ain't gonna finish it, but I will read one more chapter.
Where you gotta go again?
Today, nowhere. I got a bunch of paperwork to do, sis. Hold on.
You gotta go to Sylvan.
Hold on. Mick Shalom. You take some guy saying he auto write over Jehovah. What? You take some guy saying he ought to write over Jehovah. Wait, are you saying you think we believe what some guy wrote, auto wrote over the words of our Creator? No, that is not what we do here. We're testing all things. If that's what you're saying. Prince Yehuda, shalom, shalom. Okay. Taking men's word over God. Mick. How long you been here, Mick? Serious question. Serious question. Yeah, I think I don't want to just assume you just came, because you could have been here for a while. But that from what you said, it sounds to me that you might be a newcomer and you really don't understand what we do here, right? We're not taking any man's word over the Creator or over Jehovah, Yahuwah, however you term the Creator, right? That is not what we're doing. We're deciphering between truth and error, testing what can be tested. We're keeping what's good, giving away to the trash can what is bad. And what we put in the trash can, we set on fire. And I keep matches on me, right? So, all right, chapter 10, y'all. Page 730 or chapter XX. And there volunteered and went out of Shalom 200 adults and more than 300 children, of whom more than 100 were infants. And they went into another part of the country and came to a place called Bersuris, which was unoccupied. And they purchased the country there and settled and called the colony Alim, signifying healing waters, for there were mineral springs on the place, said to contain great virtue in healing the sick. Now in a similar manner to Shalom, so did Elim, building and improving the place. But the people of Elim had less hardship, for they drew supplies and assistance from Shalom. Nevertheless, they also had many hardships and trials for several years. And Jehovah prospered Elim also, so that it came to pass that it was established in great perfection. As to Shalom, after the first swarm departed, the inhabitants sent back to Uz of their women, whose allotment it was, and collected yet more infants, castaways, and orphans, and brought them to Shalom, and raised them in the same way. From this time onward, every year, a goodly number reached the age of 14, and they were also liberated from infancy and admitted as brothers and sisters. And nearly every year, a swarm departed out of Shalom. In addition to the infants admitted into Shalom, there were also admitted many adults. But these were examined after the same manner as were those at the first founding of Shalom, and none were accepted save those who were faithless in the all-person, Jehovah, and who were willing to work. But there came many of the poor of Uz, seeking membership for charity's sake, but none of them were admitted. Jehovah had said, "The laborers in establishing my kingdom shall do for charity's sake." The laborers in establishing my kingdom shall not do for charity's sake. Their labor shall be to provide a way to prevent poverty, not to alleviate it. Behold, I will have a new race of people in the world, and they shall not waste their substance on those that deny me. But the poor were fed and sent on their way. Now it happened that many lazy people from Uz, having heard the beauty and peace in Shalom, sought also to become members, being willing to make any covenant and to swear any oath for sake of living in idleness. But the light of Jehovah had also made this matter clear, so that they were suffered to remain a little while in Shalom at night, and to attend the schools of discipline, that they might be judged. And if found worthy, they were admitted. But if unworthy, they were rejected. But it came to pass that many who came with no thought of self-resurrection, but came for a home to be cared for by others, were entirely changed in their habits in a few months, being converted in truth from worthlessness to industry and self-improvement. And this is something that shocked me a few years ago, because I never really thought that people who are homeless, not all people, right? You got different types of people who are homeless, right? But you actually have some people who are homeless that choose to be homeless and live on the street because they don't want any kind of discipline in their life whatsoever, right? If they want to go live with somebody, they don't want to live under the rules of that particular house. And if they had their own, they still couldn't keep up discipline to keep their house, which is why they're on the street or bouncing from house to house. And then to alleviate from themselves any type of being what they would consider lorded over by others, they just rather live on the street. They'll go for handout. They don't care that they don't have a stable place to live in. They figure a lot of times, especially if it's just them and they don't have children in tow, right? They figure they can do this for the rest of their life. They eating because it's always somebody willing to enable them to continue being lazy bums. And we ain't talking about everybody, because some people really do have some issues which were far beyond. We're not talking about them, right? We're talking specifically about the ones who are absolutely lazy and don't want to do anything. They just want to live on handouts all their lives, right? There are people like this. And this is what the Father's community is to guard against. Have y'all seen in y'all cities, like I'm starting to see these pop up around our cities here. There are some places where they have corners where people are known to hang out, especially during the holidays, holding up signs asking for handouts, right? And this is when they get their most money, during the holidays, right? But the cities have started, I mean, they've been caught wind of it, but what they've started doing, the first one I saw is in Hampton, and I've seen a couple in Chesapeake, and I've seen one in Suffolk. The main corners where they notice people hang out and panhandle, they started putting signs that said, I'm going to just sum it up. Do not encourage panhandling. The city has resources for people who are in need of whatever, right? Send them here or give them the resources here. So they trying to clean up the streets, get people off the streets, right? If you really need help, maybe you didn't know that there were resources here to help you, right? But the resources, they're not just gonna just feed you and keep clothing you every day. They want to help you get back on your feet. And they're actually using discrimination as well. They're sifting through the people who really want help or really down on their luck. Here are the resources we have. We'll help you here. But you get this amount of time to get back on your feet. We understand you may need some food now, but we're letting you know while we're feeding you, we got these resources, we got these job options. You need help with these skills. We have this. We're connected with them. You need a place to clean. We'll set you up here in this shelter for a couple weeks or however long so you can get clean daily, keep your hygiene up. We got this, beauticians, barbers. They're in a network with us and make sure you can look presentable. All of these things, right? All of these things. If people are unwilling to take the help, they got to do a little bit of work themselves. If they're not willing to, like, I don't want none of that, just give me something to eat. I'm going to need you to leave right out these doors because we don't help lazy bums. Help us help you. Do you want help or don't you? Because if you want help, you need to become a functioning part of this society. If that's not what you want, then go back over there to that little box under the bridge on 43rd and 10th, right? And you stay over there, right? I know this sounds harsh, but you got to talk that way to some people, right? Because some people they're really entitled, and it's like they have to come to the end of themselves, right? What y'all say? Oh, y'all having this conversation back and forth with Mick. I'll let y'all handle that. But we know why we're here, right? Mick can stay or Mick can choose to go, right? But you should be here. I'm not telling you have to be. But at least be here a little while before jumping in, saying stuff that doesn't make sense to everybody else here, right? Because we test everything, right? We don't blindly follow stuff. A lot of people think that's what, and some people do, right? I'll give you that. Some people do, but that's not what we do. We're testing everything, even OAHSPE, even some of the books, everything here. We test everything, right? Yes, thank you, Gloria. We're all giving free will. We're all given free will. And it's incumbent upon us to test those things we're reading, right? Test them. If it works, if it applies, then we can use it. If not, you got to make a big deal about it. If you don't agree with it, there are many other places you can go. You can start your own channel. Do videos, right? Teach people what you believe. Okay, let's go back up here. What's that? Verse. Let's go back up to verse. Let me just start the whole chapter over, y'all. It's on the 19th verse. I'm going to just start it over. And there chapter 20 or chapter XX. And there volunteered and went out of Shalom 200 adults and more than 300 children, of whom more than 100 were infants. And there went into another part of the country and came to a place called Basuris, which was unoccupied. And they purchased the country there and settled and called the colony Ilam, signifying healing waters, for there were mineral springs on the place, said to contain great virtue in healing the sick. Now, in a similar manner to Shalom, so did Elim, building and improving the place. But the people of Elim had less hardship, for they drew supplies and assistance from Shalom. Nevertheless, they had also many hardships and trials for several years. And Jehovah prospered Elim also, so that it came to pass that it was established in great perfection. As to Shalom, after the first swarm departed, and the inhabitants sent back to Uz of their women, whose allotment it was, the collected yet more infants, castaways and orphans, and brought them to Shalom and raised them in the same way. From this time onward, every year, a goodly number reached the age of 14, and they were also liberated from infancy, and admitted as brothers and sisters. And nearly every year, a swarm departed out of Shalom. In addition to the infants admitted into Shalom, there were also admitted many adults. but these were examined after the same manner as were those at the first founding of Shalom. And none were accepted save those who were faithless in the all-person Jehovah. And none were accepted save those who were faithless in the all-person Jehovah, and who were willing to work. But there came many of the poor of Uz, seeking membership for charity's sake, but none of them were admitted. Jehovah had said, the laborers in establishing my kingdom shall not do for charity's sake. Their labor shall be to provide a way to prevent poverty, not to alleviate it. Behold, I will have a new race of people in the world, and they shall not waste their substance on those that deny me. But the poor were freed and sent on their way. Now the poor were fed and sent on their way. Now it happened that many lazy people from Uz, having heard of the beauty and peace in Shalom, sought also to become members, being willing to make any covenant and to swear any oath for sake of living in idleness. But the light of Jehovah had also made this matter clear, so that they were suffered to remain a while in Shalom at work, and to attend the schools of discipline, that they might be judged. And if found worthy, they were admitted, but if unworthy, they were rejected. But it came to pass that many who came with no thought of self-resurrection, but came for a home to be cared for by others, were entirely changed in their habits in a few months, being converted in truth from worthlessness to industry and self-improvement. And many of these became zealous in perfection and in good works, even above the average. But nearly all who applied for admittance were poor or misfortunate or discouraged with life and with the ways of the world in particular. Neither came many who were rich. Hence the saying, the difficulty for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. For having corporal comforts, they took little concern as to the spirit, and especially as to affiliation. And we're going to pause right here. Right? Seeing all that's transpiring, I should have just paused before chapter 19 started. So y'all don't go back and forth, right? Just because y'all going back and forth. I know people that are already against something, us going back and forth with them is not helping them. It's like having a conversation with somebody who is having a one-way conversation with you. They're just waiting for a break, not to respond to what you really said and think about what you said and research what you said. They're just waiting for a break to continue saying what they were going to say. They're not listening to you. So when you see that happening, stop responding to them. Stop adding fuel to the fire. And they'll choose to stay or they'll choose to go. If they get belligerent, my wrenches are here, right? My administrators are here. And they have good wisdom. When they see it getting to that point, they'll go ahead and remove them if they don't remove themselves first, right? Okay. But if they ask some good questions and stuff, I don't mind that. Because if I don't see you can ask it, as long as they're not getting disrespectful and stuff, that I will not tolerate here. I will stop and I'll remove you myself, right? All right. So with that being said, beautiful people, like we all on our own growing path, we're all learning. We're testing all information. We're not holding one book, one religion over the other. It's incumbent upon us to test everything. Take what we can see lines up with the Creator according to our highest light. And our highest light will not be the same come a year from now, because we have a year to develop, a year to research, a year to test what we've recently learned. And then we'll put away all those things that we've learned that is not conducive for our growth spiritually. And then we add those things that we see that are working, right? We change just like we grow, and we change our clothes as our bodies develop and grow taller, wider, skinnier. The same thing happens to us spiritually, right? Things that we believed last year, we may not necessarily believe this year, or a portion of that, I believe that now, but the rest of this, I have found no basis in truth for this, you know, and all of us should be doing that, right? So don't argue back and forth with people that when they do that, they kind of, I'm not going to say they're lower than us, but our understanding may be a little bit higher than what theirs is. That's like my 19-year-old trying to argue with my 6-year-old. I'm like, don't do it, right? Because your understanding is different from theirs. Do not do that. It's gonna be a complete mess. And now I'm gonna get you for arguing with her because you know better. She doesn't quite understand that yet. It's the same thing that happens here in the chat with people that you see. We don't have to say any more about that, right? Okay. So Mick, be blessed on your journey in truth as you learn, as you apply the truth that you learn in your highest light, right? All right, y'all, that's it. Thank y'all for hanging out today. It is Monday, October the 17th, 2022, day 239 of year 4, reading through the books of the Law and Prophets, and of the 4-year consecutive day count, day 1258. We started on page 727, and we paused on page 731, and that was chapters 17 through 20. And something that I forgot to do at the beginning, because I started talking about the pitfalls and the downfalls of Shalom and John Newborough and how he got off from the Creator and how all that crap happened that everybody's talking about. As I talked about that a little bit and shared that reference, I forgot to do my morning adoration to the Father. So, Father, we thank you that you are the inner workings of all things, and also that you are the unseen light behind our eyes and behind everything. And we thank you that you bring light to all those things, even that the untruths that we walk in, that we think that are true. We thank you that you help us to be teachable and give us discernment so we can begin to separate truth from error, and we can walk and we can find you a little bit more as the days pass, regardless of all the noise that is out there around us. All right, y'all, I love y'all. I see y'all back here tomorrow morning, bright and early. No, we will not be here tomorrow. I'm sorry. We will not be here tomorrow. We will be observing Sabbath tomorrow. I see y'all back here Wednesday, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace. Take us out of here, Tootie. You're welcome, Kendra. I love y'all. I got to go back through here and read some of these comments, too. I'm nosy. Bye, y'all.